This is going to be another one of my videos on how to change out an outlet. I've done a couple of them, just so you can see different examples of it. So you don't really need that much. Just need a few tools, and you got the screwdrivers. I'm going to show you how I use this to make sure that the outlet is wired properly. If you don't want to do that, that's up to you, but I want to make sure the grounding and the neutral and the line are connected properly. Screwdriver, marker if you might need it, needle nose pliers in case you have to pull the wire off of the screw. What else do we have here? Sandpaper to clean the corrosion off of the wire. Stripper, you probably don't need that, but a stripper in case you want to re-strip the wire, or if you want to strip it to put the wires around the screws instead of in the holes on the back of the outlet. Going to need a new socket. These are very inexpensive, very easy to do this project for a couple bucks and swap out a burned out outlet or replace them. In my case, I'm putting a white one on instead of the beige because I painted the walls white. So you get the outlet and then you go buy the faceplate. As I said in the other videos, make sure when you buy it that the screw is still in there, over here and over here. A lot of people like to go in the stores and take these screws when they run out. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in to make sure the outlet is wired properly. Two lights on the right should come on and the red light should stay off. That tells me that it's wired properly. And then I know that I've got 120 volts. I've got my meter here. Before it was showing, it was like 130 it was showing. Okay, so it's not really showing anything right now. Let's get it in the outlet the right way. Oh, that's because this is controlled by a... Yeah, that should power up. This outlet over here, it says RT. This is controlled by a switch. It's controlled by a switch, and the switch is on right now, so we've got the 120 volts over there. So what I'm going to do, this is on circuit breaker 4. I'm going to turn off circuit breaker 4, 2, 3, circuit breaker 4. So I've got a light over here so I can at least record. So my 120 is gone, and the light over there is gone. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to put in a new outlet. And I've done 2 other videos just like this. I'm going to do probably a whole bunch of them as I swap out a whole bunch of outlets that are old and make them newer. So you take off your... Yeah, I have a paper towel on the floor because a lot of dust usually, a lot of dust is going to fall off of this thing. You can see it right, well, it's dried. So, let me get my tools out of the way. And so what you're going to do over here, if you can't get your screwdriver in there, score the thing so that you can at least get the screwdriver to bite into the head of the screw. And go in there and remove the screw. And I'm very big on safety. Turn off the breaker. Don't put your hands on both sides of the outlet even if the power is off. Learn how to do this stuff safely. One hand only. Make sure you're not grounded when you're doing this stuff. Make sure you're not standing on something that's going to ground you that could complete the circuit. Oh boy. So you want to take out the top screw and the bottom screw. There are usually little spacers in there that hold it in. Okay. Oh boy, we got a lot of wires in here, as I said, because this is connected to a switch. And they don't really give a lot of space in here because this was the way this place was built. What is all this junk in the bottom? So carefully remove your wires. Hopefully you don't have to pull everything out of the box. This is just a big mess because I have to pull things out of the box just to be... the ups is beeping in the background. That's what you hear. I'm going to go unplug the ups in a minute. So I've got next to no room unless I start pulling out all of this, which I don't really want to do. I've got my 2 white wires. Now, this is great. I've got a white wire that went in the hole. I got a white wire that's on the screw. I got a black wire that's on the screw, a black wire. This is just a mess. This one is not going to be easy like the others. It's not going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy, though. I'm going to on the others, I did my ground in between doing the whites and the blacks. I'm just going to do this to make sure I can put this together. I can't really pull out the wires that much further. So I'm going to take off my ground wire. I'm going to take off the white wire. I'm going to take the white out of the back. And then I'm going to connect all of that. And then I'll worry about the other side after that. So a little bit different than what I just did in my other 2 videos. Let me get a flat blade screwdriver here. And one that has a long handle so I can do this and keep my hands out of the way of the video. So I'm going to be, will this go on the screw? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to loosen. If you want to mark your wires and do them all at one time, that's up to you. I don't really want to do that. Again, make sure, you got to make sure your power's off, but you never want to put your hand on both sides of this because you've got the circuit completing on both sides of this. In fact, I just turned off that switch. Not that it matters, but I turned off the switch, which connects part of the circuit. So I've got the ground that I'm going to take off in a minute. I'm going to remove this. Hopefully I can remove the screw, because if I can completely remove the screw, then I don't have to worry about fixing the loop. They did a very clean, look at how beautiful this job is. Very clean how the wires are wrapped around. The wire does not go past the box. The wire fits into the little notch over there. So if I can pull this screw out all the way on both of these, then I don't have to worry about making another, stretching out the loop and then putting it back together. Okay, so I've got the white wire, which is going to be out of my way in a minute. I've got my needle nose pliers now. You'll notice the white wire didn't corrode that bad compared to the ground wire and most of the other wires that I have removed in this series of videos that I'm making on replacing all my outlets. I wish I could pull these out all the way. That way I wouldn't even have to mess with... Is this one going to come out? It didn't come out on the others. Maybe it was because I didn't have a good enough screwdriver. A wide enough one. Okay, so I don't have to go and pull that out with the needle nose. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to take... let me get this extra white wire out of the way. That's what I want to do. And the way you do that is you take a flat blade screwdriver, a small one, and you put it into a little gap on the back. You see you have the hole. So you have the hole, and then you've got the gap over there where you take this thing and you push it in, you press it down, and as you press down, you pull on the wire, and it should release the wire. Then you just got to wait until it catches. Sometimes you have to rock it back and forth. Sometimes you have to angle. Oh, there it goes. It just caught. All right. There. Okay, so that wire is out. Now, I don't have a lot of room, as I said. What I want to do is I want to file. I want to sand this. See how corroded it is? So I'm taking my sandpaper. You can use whatever you want to use. Steel wool. You just want to take off the corrosion. You don't want to take off a lot of metal. So it's nice and shiny. I definitely want to do that on the ground, because the ground is important. And so I'm going to go in here like that so I don't bend anything. Getting later in the day, so I had to plug a lamp in. The first one I was by a lot of light. The second video I did, not a lot of light. This one, it's getting darker. I want to be able to see what I'm going to do here. I thought I was just going to do this in the daytime, but I'm a night person, so. I've got my outlet now. I'm going to see if I can pull this ground wire out. Well, I don't even have to worry about that. I should just be able to, there's enough room here. I should just be able to get this on here. I hope. Let's see, can I do that? Let me see if it comes. It might not. If it does, it will make things easier for me. If it doesn't, not a big deal. Okay, ground screws coming out. And I'm going to try to take off this other screw. And that came out. Okay, so life is good over here right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put green wire for the ground. I'm going to put it into the ground opening over there. As I said in my other videos, if you've done this before, it's just not a big deal. This takes a little time. If it's your first time doing it, you're going to feel like you have no clue what you're doing, but that's just how life is. Just like when you're learning guitar or an instrument or a language, you feel like you have no clue what you're doing, and then you get it done, and pretty soon you're an expert. So that worked out fairly nicely. Pull this thing over here to get the loop over a little better. Not a big deal because it's a ground wire, so the ground is not going to short out on anything and cause a problem. And remember, I said I'm very big on safety. If I had wires on here and I was touching this and the power was on, I wouldn't be doing this anymore because I wouldn't be here. So right now I'm doing the circuit, not that big of a deal. As I start dealing with the other side of the box, then it becomes a real big deal. The other side of the outlet. So you saw what I did. I removed the screw. I made things easier for myself, and that way I don't have to mess with the loops. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that on the other side. The screw is magnetic. The screwdriver is magnetic, so I'm all scrunched in here on the floor. Dog is sitting over here watching me do this. You don't want to strip these screws. Make sure they go in perfectly straight. Remember how he had it over there in the notch? You just saw how it popped into that little notch. It's a little different than the older one. The older one, I can't really show it to you now. The older one had little spaces. This one's just got a big wide space for the wire, instead of a space for the wire and then another space for the other side of it, the bare side of it. So I'm about halfway done. Almost halfway done. And I don't know if it uses a different Phillips. The Phillips never seems to dig in really well on these screws like the flat blade does. You get a lot more torque with the flat blade. So the last one that I have to do is this bare wire over here. And yeah, this is going to start to get difficult in a minute. Can you see what I'm doing? Barely. So I'm going to put that in the hole. Insertion in the hole. All right, one side is done. I don't know if that's the hard side or the easy side, but I turned on the air conditioner before I started this, and I've got some ice water here just to stay cool. And all my gunk is going on the floor. I put it over there so I wouldn't have to vacuum, but I think I'm going to have to vacuum. So let's go over, hey, if you don't like me rambling in my long videos, don't leave a comment about it. Just shut it off and go annoy somebody else that wants to hear your comments. Any rude comments, I always block them and report them. So what do we have on this other side? Do I have 3 wires or 2 wires? Yikes. Okay, so I'm going to turn this thing to the side so that I have some ability to work. And then we've got a red wire going in here. We've got a black wire on the bottom. and then we have a black wire going on the screw. I am just going to do the back wires now to get this thing out of the way. The back wire, okay, let's see, the red wire is blocking the slot. Can I get this in here? Oh! God, this is not easy. Okay. Press. Okay, it released. Did it release? Did it release? No, it's not releasing. It was releasing. Red wire's on the top. Come on. Oh, boy. Okay, so the red wire is going to go on the top. Stroke your paper across the wire to remove some of the corrosion. I got another one that I've got to work on that the wiring's not as, I don't think it's as bad as this, but I have no room to get the camera in there, so I probably won't record that one. Alright, so the red one, can I get the red one in there? Oh boy. Let me see if I can get my needle nose in there at least to feed it, to start it. This thing doesn't even want to feed in. Oh boy, come on. Come on. There it goes. Oh, no, there it doesn't go. And there could be a little nick on the wire. There, okay, now it's feeding. Now it's going to feed. Okay, red wire is in. Now, I've got to get the black wire off, which is wrapped around this thing. Yikes. And then I've got to get the loop, which is going to go onto the screw. And I think... Oh, boy. You know, with stuff like this, just take your time. Take your time. Take some time and just see if you can do it. If you can't do it, then you get a handyman or an electrician and spend the money. But things like this, you don't learn unless you do them. So you shut off the power and... Oh, come on. This is just an old outlet, and it's not... Okay. Again, some of these things you can push the screwdriver in. Some of them you have to angle it, and you have to put it on an angle and wiggle it. No comments on that, please. Okay, so it's almost finished now. Just got to squeeze this black wire into there. I'll push that underneath, make it a little easier for me. Black wire, come on, go in there, go in there. Black wire is in there. So now all we've got to do, we've got the last one, we've got this. Okay, and they're attached together now. Got this black wire over here. Hopefully I can get this. It's painted. Wow. That's when this place was, what they did is they spray painted this whole place. Before I moved in, they spray painted this whole thing. They didn't have outlet covers on there, obviously, and the spray went everywhere. As you can see, it went on the wires, it went on the curtain, it went everywhere. It just went all over the place. including the wire. The wire held up really nice. Look at that. There's very little corrosion on this one. So, I'm going to try to get this thing out. That way I don't have to mess with the loop, or putting the loop back on nicely. Either way, it's not going to be fun. All right, let's bend this wire a little bit. Get the screw in the hole, if I can. I don't know. Wire is so tight. Take your time, be patient. You don't want to strip these screws. We're almost done. Line the wire up in there. Get it underneath the screw. I wish it was under the, there, okay, it's under the screw now. Now it looks good. Whew, boy, am I sweating. Yikes. All right, sorry about all that noise while I'm drinking. I know we were taught as kids not to do that. So now I'm going to, some people would have gone in there and yanked all this stuff out of there and then shoved it all back in. This box is so narrow. This is not a standard. This box is, I don't know what they call them, but the junction boxes of today are much wider than this box. This box is really narrow. And I almost forgot, but especially on a narrow box, tighten these screws on the side so they don't go banging into anything or rubbing against something or causing a fire or stopping you from inserting this. So I don't know if I said it before. Do a thumbs up, a subscribe, or a like. If you have something you want me to review, if I can get a hold of it, I will do it. If you want to donate to my PayPal channel, actually my YouTube channel, ask for my PayPal info. Donations are always welcome. Push your wires back in. If they don't go in the right way, pull this thing out and do it the right way. Don't jam all this stuff in and start breaking things and buckling wires and pinching wires. I'm going to have to move the camera out of the way to finish this. Got the wires pushed in there. Yeah, this box is really, really narrow. Put your two screws in there. Oh, boy. Tighten things down. There's just hardly any room. This was, I can see on the left over here, there's hardly any gap. There's a huge gap on the right. So I'm going to try to seat that as best I can. Torque it down. Don't torque it down. Tighten it down. There's so many wires behind here, and I'm really having a hard time pushing this. Nowadays, you'd have to, well, they don't use these small boxes now. Outlet looks like it's starting to bend a little bit. So now I'm going to get the cover and I'm going to see if I can even flatten this thing out. Is it able to flatten out? Let me tighten that just a little bit more. Get it against the wall a little bit more. Inspector Dog is sitting here watching this. She's going to check it out in a minute. It's kind of turned in there a little too tight. think that's a little better. Tighten down the center screw. Some people want it perfectly even. Some people don't care. So what we did is we swapped out an old, painted, corroded outlet with an ugly color, not matching the white walls, and corrosion on the wires, so it doesn't make as good a connection. And this ugly faceplate with a brand new outlet that looks much better. It is matching the wall color, and even if you don't want to do this for matching the color of the wall, if you just want to upgrade your house, if you want to upgrade your outlets, if you want to make sure that there's no corrosion, if you want to check to make sure your outlet is wired properly, this is the way to go. So what I'm going to do now, I've got a few more of these to do. I really should stop for the night, but let's make sure this plugs in. Now I'm going to go and power this thing up. I'm going to turn on the breaker over here. Lights came on in the room, 2 lights on the thing, and that is how you wire a new outlet and put on a new faceplate. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you watch all my other awesome videos. Thank you.